So my 5.5 gallon, which is a Japan Blue Gold double sword guppy tank. This is the colony. It's drained halfway down, it's all stirred up. It's spraying a leak. It's not a very bad leak, but it's enough to where I've got to keep a towel right there. It's slow enough to where the towel is just barely damp, but I don't want it to risk a catastrophe. So I bought a new 5.5 gallon aquarium. They're not that expensive. And I'm draining this down and pulling plants out. I'm putting the rocks and the plants in this bucket because I want to keep the good bacteria alive, and obviously I want to keep the plants alive. So I've got a little bit of water. I'm going to add some more. I'm probably going to save the majority of the water from this tank. So we don't have, hopefully we don't have a nitrogen spike or ammonia spike or anything like that. And then I've got my lava rock, which is a little bit of moss on the rock. There's a little bit of pearlweed that was stuck to the rock, and that's what's left in here. There's a big mass of it in there, pearlweed. I've got some myriophyllum or foxtail, or not foxtail, parrot's feather right here, and a little piece of kabomba. And then you would never have guessed, in this little 5.5 gallon tank, I had a mass of, it's not Vallisneria. This is dwarf Sagittaria. When you grow dwarf Sag under lower light, it gets tall like jungle veil. Not as wide, but look how thick, it's just a mat. And those roots, there's so much of it. Of course, I'm gonna try and fit as much back into the tank because it was a beautiful jungle for fry. I get so many fish produced in this little tank. I probably pulled 3 or 4 dozen fish out of this tank earlier this summer, believe it or not, in a 4 gallon tank, or 5.5 gallon tank, and put them in a tub outside at work for the summer. And this fall, I'll be probably taking them to a local pet store. So anyway, just wanted to show all the just the amount of productivity you can get out of a tank this size. 5.5 gallons. There's probably a half dozen mature females and 2 or 3 mature males in here, and a bunch of juveniles and fry. I mean, I've probably got a few dozen fish in here again. And I just cleaned it out earlier this summer. And just the amount of plant production I get out of it is ridiculous too. It does get some direct light although it's from a distance. It's several feet from this west facing window here. But it comes in and shines right in on this side of the tank. And I think that really helps the plant production because that veil and duckweed creates so much shade from the light there. So anyway, you can get an insane amount of production out of a little bitty tank. And this tank gets a water change probably not even every month, just when I feel like it. All of that's because I run sponge filter, which is right here. I run sponge filter. Which is a great biological filtration. I've got lots of plants. And as far as the size of the tank goes, it's a pretty deep layer of sand. It's a coarse sand too, so it doesn't really compact. And I feed as much as I want, and there's tons of production, and I fertilize almost every day, and no issues. So it just goes to show, you get it built right, and it's stable, a little tank can produce a lot with very little work from you, which is fun. Fun to see. I'm sad to tear this down. It's one of my favorite tanks, but it'll be fun to grow it back together, or put it back together and watch it grow in again. Oh, and I've got some micro sword, which this is really sad. I have to tear this apart because it's finally growing. The light in here is pretty diffused, like I say, and it's finally growing. And I'm gonna have to pull it out. So we'll see what it looks like later. Maybe I'll post another video on the Guppy page for you guys to see what it looks like when I'm done.